I don't think you understand. I didn't come to rescue Rambo from you. I came here to rescue you from him. We're talking First Blood and Rambo. Hit it. It was 1982. Israel returned cyanide to Egypt. Tylenol capsules laced with potassium cyanide killed 7 people. Chicago sang Hard to Say I'm Sorry. And John Rambo just wanted something to eat. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a Totally Rad Christmas all-star. You'll know him as the host of the bodacious Christmas Clatter podcast and 3-time Ratty winner, Todd Killian. Todd, how's it going?
Going well, Jerry. I'm glad you brought up my three-time Ratty.
You know, if you got it, might as well flaunt it.
Might as well. I put it on my job applications now. I put it on my desk. And it will be a part of my annoying Christmas letter I send out to all my family I don't otherwise talk to throughout the
year. Gotta love those letters, though. You know, you're like, oh, okay. Right on. Well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you like it. I actually got to get the awards out, like the actual awards, but that might be a while. I'm not so good with the mailing things out, so. I think I still owe a ton of people a ton of stickers. Yeah, I
understand. I am the exact same way. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll get to that, and then 3 days you forget about it, and they're like, oh, I need to get to that, and then 3 more days you forget about it. You know,
yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
I'll eventually get you your 3 ratties, but for now, just bask in the warmth of the knowledge that you know that you won them.
Yeah.
Oh man. So 3, that's right. 3. I think that was the most anyone. I think you have the most ratties so far.
I think, was there another person that got 3?
Maybe Chris. I think it was Chris.
Yeah.
Chris Sisley. Yeah.
From Christmas Time in the Sea. Yeah.
I think he's the only other person. So right on. Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll see if we can get you the record next year.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for it. I will be here, totally rad audience. I will be here every other week to rack up the score on my Reddies. Jerry likes it or not, I'll just pop in on his Zoom.
I don't mind. It's always fun talking to you, so I don't mind. But speaking of, we're talking Rambo tonight and First Blood especially. What's your experience and your history with Rambo?
The first time I ever remember anything Rambo was First Blood, of course. I don't remember what year it was. I don't remember if it was, it was probably 83 because it was on maybe HBO. All I remember, because I was a little kid, I was born in 77. So when Rambo First Blood came out, I was 5 years old. So it might've been a few years after it came out. I remember we were in Jefferson City, Missouri, visiting my aunt and uncle. And I remember, the only thing I remember is my mom and dad and my aunt and uncle watching it. I do not know if it was HBO or if it was VHS, but I remember the tunnel scene with all the rats.
Oh yeah.
And everybody being freaked out watching it. That was, and from then on, I don't know. I remember if I asked what it was or anything, but I remember hearing that it was First Blood or Rambo. And it was just, that little part was burned in my brain and was a fan ever since.
It's a really good movie. So I don't actually remember seeing First Blood until I remember a few things. Like I remember when they blow up the tunnel, and I remember when he's like shooting the cop through the ceiling. Those are like the 2 things that I really remembered about it.
Right.
But I don't think I saw like the full movie until like I was in my 20s, I think. I know I saw part 2 and part 3, like for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I saw part 2, part 3 in the theaters.
nice.
We went as a family to see that because it's a great family movie, I guess. It was the 80s, Jerry.
It was the 80s. That is a good family movie.
I don't take my kids to see John Wick, but my parents took me to see Rambo. So, so, and I remember watching, of course, you had to rent videos then, so you didn't get to see everything as on demand as you wanted.
Right.
I remember watching it on video when I was younger, about this time, probably right after, sometime in between 2 and 3.
Okay.
And I remember liking it, but not liking it as well as 2 or 3 because it wasn't quite the action film,
right,
that those are. Yeah. But now as I've gotten older, it's circled back around. It's my favorite of them all.
It really is the best one. Yeah. And I'm the same way. I remember 2 and 3 were awesome. In fact, I think I remember most when he's like shot and he has to like push the bullet like out and then like he cauterizes it. I mean, that scene was another one that was just like, I remember that, and it was like so cool. And every time he put the special head on the arrows and shot him and blew everything up.
Yeah.
Those are always awesome. And so the first one doesn't really have a lot of that, but something about it, it's like grittier. It's definitely more atmospheric. It delves more into like Rambo's psyche, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
And it deals with, of course, the backlash from the Vietnam War and all that stuff. Which is funny because you were here when we talked about Magnum PI. Yes. And how they were all Vietnam vets, but that were very well adjusted. They didn't have any kind of the PTSD that Rambo has. But I was the same way. I remember I liked all the action beats of like 2 and 3 much more than I liked 1 when I was younger. Of course, now, like you said, it's like legit the best one. It
is, and every time I watch it, especially his monologue at the end, and we'll get there. It's so thought provoking still to this day with situations going on, currently in present day. It's like, it's still relevant, and I even tried Googling, like, is there like, does First Blood like hold a special place in Vietnam's Veterans Heart? I couldn't really find anything, about it. I'm sure nobody's really done a study on it or anything, but it's and I don't know this for sure. I'm not the greatest movie buff, in the world, but it's got to be one of the first movies to kind of address PTSD, or something, at least one of the more popular ones that do.
That's for sure. Because everybody knows Rambo. Now it's like you hear whenever there's like a tough guy, it's like, he's such a Rambo kind of a thing, or lone wolf,
and that's what Rambo was one of the starts. 82 was one of the starts of that one man army, best of the best kind of genres. That, or maybe Escape from New York might have been the earlier release. It was kind of the same kind of deal, but not really. But we had, of course, like Commando, Schwarzenegger, and even Chuck Norris with like the Missing in Action films and Delta Force and all that. That's definitely, that one, you're right, that one man army kind of thing. And a lot of it has to do because of Rambo. Now, as I was researching, I found out that this is actually based on a novel, and I had no idea. I remember I've lived most of my life without knowing that. So and the novel is way different than the movie.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
The novel takes place in Appalachia.
Oh, okay.
Instead of the Pacific Northwest. And John Rambo is more the villain than the anti-hero / hero.
Yeah. I know that there was a whole subplot that they cut from the novel where Teasel is also kind of upset with Rambo because he was a Vietnam vet, and like the war was so fresh that people kind of forgot about the Korean War, which he was a veteran of. And so there was kind of like that, I don't know if it was jealousy is the right word, but just that animosity, that he felt because like he felt like his contributions were being overlooked.
Yeah. I could see that with the Korean War sandwiched in between Vietnam and World War II.
War II, yeah.
It is overlooked, unfortunately.
It really is. The only reason that I even remember really the Korean War very much is because my grandpa was injured and got a Purple Heart. in the
Right.
Korean War. That's like
Right.
really the only reason I know that,
Right.
I really remember it. Not that it wasn't significant, it was, but, it's just one of those that I think, like you said, just kind of got smushed in between them. And so just was overlooked.
Right.
And so, I mean, I thought that was kind of an interesting subplot, but I can see how that would bog down the movie. Apparently, the original cut of this movie was like 3.5 hours long, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was so terrible that Stallone, he actually wanted to buy the film so he could destroy it.
Yes.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But they re-edited it, cut it down to like a swift 90 something minutes, and it's good. It flows really well. I know even Siskel and Ebert liked it, which is again something strange because they normally don't like a lot of these kind of action flicks.
That is a lost art. The nice 90-minute movie is a lost art.
Looking at you, Zack Snyder.
Well, spoiler alert, I just saw Jungle Cruise. It would have done it a world of good to be about 20 to 30 minutes shorter. It would have only helped the movie.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours. It's like,
and that seems to be the standard nowadays. I mean, you look at Marvel, you look at DC, they're all like 2.5 hours long. Of course, like the bigger pictures are pushing 3 hours, 3 something.
Yeah.
So it's like they have more time to like expand and really get their character development, but because they have like so many characters, whereas there's really only the 3 main characters. It's just Rambo, Teasel, the sheriff, and Colonel Troutman, his former commanding officer. It's like, really, that's all you need. You really just need those guys. And I think in this film, they do a really good job of actually teasing of actually just getting all the character development they can out of these guys.
They do. It helps that everybody in there is really great actors.
Yeah,
but there's just a lot of little beats, especially in the when he first gets arrested and goes to the police. There's just lots of little beats that let you know instantly what kind of police officer that guy is. And stuff. And so it's like, so they tell you so much just by mannerisms and just a sentence here or there. You don't have to sit there and just go through every police officer's backstory to find out which one's a jerk and which ones are sympathetic. And just
I forgot David Caruso is in this.
Such a wimpy little guy, isn't he?
What do they call him? A pansy or something?
Yeah.
And the other thing and I'm glad you brought it back to my attention because I had forgotten that this was set at Christmas time. That was another thing that I'd overlooked. But when I saw it again, and they're in the sheriff's office and you can see the trees and they have the little signs that say Merry Christmas. And then at the end, when he's blowing the town to to Kingdom Come, I mean, there's all the buildings have the lights on them and everything. And that was something that had also just completely escaped my memory. So I'm glad you brought it up again because it really is a Christmas film.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is a Christmas movie in my book, 100%.
Yeah, we were talking about you the other day about how you have a very clear, just a very clear standard, and there's definitely no waffling back and forth.
That's right. There's no waffling. I mean, it's not perfect. You get some movies that's like really, but
it's consistent.
I'm not going to miss any Christmas movies with my standards.
That's right. That's right. And I was thinking, because I kind of got to change up a couple of the categories for next year's Raddies because I'm already thinking about it. And I thought, we should do like best 80s action flick, the raddest action movie. And I think because there's been a few that I've covered, like Invasion USA, Night of the Comet, now this one. I mean, they have some really good ones. I mean, you think about Cobra is another one, and I'm going to cover that in a couple of weeks. And then what's that one? Death Wish 3, I think, is also set at Christmas time. So there's quite a few 80s Christmas action flicks.
I say I don't know why they don't do that anymore. It's like they just make it Christmas time for, I don't know if it's for no reason, but they never really address Christmas in the movies. In this one they might have had a couple dialogues about Christmas, something about a Christmas party and something else maybe, but that's about it.
But it's good, and you're right. It's nice and tight as far as the storytelling goes. That 90 minutes really flies by.
Yes.
And the other thing that I'd completely forgotten was that he doesn't really. I mean, with the exception of Galt, which is kind of an accident, he doesn't really kill anybody in this one.
No, he doesn't kill anybody in this one.
Yeah, it's not like 2 and 3 where he's just
Yeah.
get them all
See,
done.
I rewatched this. I rewatched this with my youngest son, who's 13, and he had
Nice.
never seen it. He had never seen it before.
Right.
And I was talking to it, and yeah, he loved it. In fact, we're gonna finish up the whole series before summer is out, so we need to get busy on that. But
That's cool.
yeah, and I told him, I said, "You notice Rambo didn't kill anybody?" He's like, "He didn't kill anybody." He's like, "No." He's like, "That one was more of an accident than anything."
It really was. Yeah,
it was kind of self-defense,
Mhm.
kind of thing. And he goes, "Well, why?" He asked me, he's like, "Why didn't he kill anybody?" He's like, "Because he's supposed to be the hero,
Right.
the hero doesn't kill anybody,
Yeah. Whereas in the novel, he like fully he guts somebody, like their entrails spill out. I mean, that's
right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, "Don't worry, he'll make it up in the next movies."
Yes, he will. With the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
It was something that I noticed this last viewing that I could have sworn he did, but it was my memory, I think, just conflating all the different series together. And for some reason I thought, because he has that one trap, which is super cool with the spikes and for some reason I thought that actually gets the guy, but as I'm looking at it, it's lower. It's like on his legs more than it is anything else. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that makes sense that wouldn't kill him, just, incapacitate him. And
that scene in the woods when they're first hunting him down, that had a real horror movie vibe to it.
It did, yeah.
I didn't realize that until I watched it this time. I was like, this has a real horror movie vibe to it, where he's just popping out and trap set up and things.
Yeah, it was definitely very guerrilla warfare.
Yeah,
which makes sense because that's kind of what they had to do in Vietnam, and especially him being a Green Beret. So John Rambo was a Green Beret trained. He was part of this Baker team, which was like reconnaissance, special missions, special ops kind of reconnaissance team. And he had there was 8 guys. I think he and Delmore Berry, who's like the guy that he's seeking out in the beginning of the film, were like the only 2 to survive. And unfortunately, his friend died of cancer from exposure to Agent Orange. But I mean, Rambo is he's just like amazing. He can do anything, especially because they also had Rambo, I think, Force of Freedom,
right,
which was the cartoon series.
The cartoon
if you ever watched the cartoon.
I watched some of it. Yeah, I think it wasn't on a syndication except on some cable networks.
Yeah,
whereas that we didn't have cable, so I had to be at somebody else's house to watch it.
Yeah, and I remember I think I didn't even watch it much because it was actually on at the same time as something else that I watched.
Yeah,
and so I only saw a few episodes here and there, and bits and pieces of it. But I had the toys that came out.
Yes,
because the toys were based on the
I had
cartoon.
Several of the, right.
Yeah,
I had several of the toys. Of course, I had Rambo, and there's some guy with a mohawk, and then one guy that kind of looked like the wrestler Iron Sheik.
Yes,
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that I had that stuff, and I think the cartoon, it was fine, and I watched it, but it didn't appeal to me because it was so different than the movies.
Yeah,
and this was kind of a period in cartoons where they were taking rated R movie properties and trying to cartoonize, make them a cartoon.
Yeah, they had RoboCop also.
RoboCop and Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger
was one, and
yep, I remember that one.
And there was some other stuff like that, and so
also nothing like the movie.
yeah, absolutely nothing like the movie. Completely nothing like the movie.
Yeah.
And so, so it just was like square peg and round hole for all that stuff for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But in the cartoon, I mean, he's the same thing. He can do like everything. So there's a scene in because they have a Christmas episode. There's a scene in that episode where he like throws his knife and perfectly cuts like a rope.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's able to like escape some trap.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, wow, this guy, he's just amazing.
Yeah. There's one scene where he's like hanging on a wing of a plane, like at 20,000 feet.
Yes. During like a snowstorm.
Yeah. It's like, he just it's like the mission's over, so he just rides that way all the way home, and it's like, really,
Which,
no,
which, by the way, he's not wearing like a jacket,
no,
like anything. It's like his
yeah,
that shirt, with the cut
yep,
off sleeves. I mean, that's
hmm
in the snowstorm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
It's
later on in that cartoon, he actually takes his shirt off to like,
yeah.
I don't know
That's when he really
why,
means
but
business,
yeah, it's like Bruce Lee. That's
Yeah,
when Bruce Lee was gonna just
yeah,
defeat you, really
yeah,
bad. Is he takes his shirt off and you're done.
yeah.
But Rambo trained under Colonel Samuel Troutman, played by Richard Crenna, and who wasn't the first choice. In fact, they had
No,
talked about all sorts of folks before they finally got Kirk Douglas, who wanted the movie to end the way the novel ends, where he actually like mercy kills Rambo.
right.
But they thought it was too much.
Yeah,
It was too violent. So they said no. So immediately he left. And so Richard Crenna was like a very last minute replacement. And so much so that I think the scriptee was actually like feeding him his lines.
yeah.
For a
Didn't he show
while.
up like the day of or the day before he was supposed to be he only got the job like within 24 hours of when he's supposed to be on set.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was
Yeah,
ridiculously close. So
yeah,
he really had like no time to learn his lines. So they were kind
yeah,
of feeding them to him until he was able to kind of learn it as he went.
yeah,
Apparently, they also cut a lot of his scenes so they could save some money on his costs.
yeah. Well, it worked. You didn't need too much from him
Yeah,
because that left a lot of mystery about who Rambo was,
yeah,
and what that team had been through, so it kind of worked out.
I agree. I think like we mentioned earlier, it's very streamlined. They just kept the basic, the bare minimums in. I like how they kind of allude to Rambo's his capture and his torture in
Mhm.
the prison camp,
Yeah,
but they don't full out show it, which
no,
is kind of nice because when you think about, and I've never been in like a ton of traumatic experiences, but the ones that I have been in, every once in a while when I think back on them, I don't remember everything. It's more like flashes, kind of the way Rambo sees it.
hmm
So especially when it's something like that, I can
yeah,
imagine it, being very intense, especially if it's like just kind of a burst, of memory,
yeah,
So I thought they captured his PTSD very well,
yeah,
at least for the time. I mean, nowadays they'd probably really go into it and, like you said, draw it out for like
yeah,
hours, but they really hone in on it, and you can see that everything that the cops are doing, and we'll just about to get into the plot here, but everything the
yeah,
cops are doing are really like forcing him to kind of relive his experience, and it triggers him, and
yeah.
unfortunately they get hurt in the process.
Yeah. They did a real good job with it because the situation that triggered it off was similar enough. But I don't remember this, but my dad tells a story. My uncle, who we was visiting, and we watched First Blood at their house in Jeff City. He was a Vietnam vet, and he went in '68, I believe. And when
Mhm.
he came back, it was like his third year back, and it was 4th of July,
Mhm.
and people were out there just like shooting firecrackers off and stuff like that. And somebody took just a regular like black cat firecracker, lit it, and threw it. And my uncle didn't realize it was close, and he started walking that direction, and it went off.
Oh
It
well.
surprised him, and he hit the deck and started yelling. I don't know exactly what he yelled, but yelling like "Get down!" Taking on fire, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
It just went completely, back to his time in Vietnam. And that was like the first and only time we really saw that from him. It might have happened and nobody knew. But he got up and he was real embarrassed and stuff. And it's like, don't worry about it, and things. But it is something that definitely still to this day needs to be dealt with and talked about and
Mhm.
helped out, because just simple little things like 4th of July really trick, everything was fine and don't know what happened, but that kind of thing happens.
Yeah. I mean, God bless him for his service. So,
Yeah.
but the movie, it opens up with Rambo kind of coming into town, and he seeks out his old friend Delmar Berry. So
Yes.
the movie is set in December of '81. So they returned, I believe, in '72.
Yes.
72. So it's been about 8, 9 years since they've been home. He can't seem to hold the job, which we find out later on when he's talking to Colonel Troutman.
Yeah.
But basically, he just kind of has the stuff that he has, and he's walking wherever he can, hitching rides, I assume. And he goes to see his friend Delmar, who unfortunately has passed away. He talks to his widow, and right away you can tell something's not quite right with him. Like he just, his mannerisms, everything. It's really awkward when he's talking to her. And I know part of that is because she was upset as well.
Yeah.
Because I assume, I don't know if it was her husband or her son or her brother, but whoever it was.
I always had a feeling it was his mom.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was his mom, but I can't seem to confirm that anywhere because she wasn't credited, which is strange.
It's not really sure what the relation is, but I always took it as his mom.
Yeah, And he has a picture. He's like, look, I promise, we were friends. I'm not trying to scam you or anything. And when she says that he passed away, from cancer, then he kind of just leaves her the picture and he just walks away.
Yeah.
So literally now, and again, this is something we learned later, that he's the very last of that Baker team, that special recon team, guerrilla warfare, whatever it is, which has got to be very lonely. I mean, and very isolated, I mean, it's like, these are your guys and now you're the very last of them. I mean, I can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah. And it's a special elite team. So they probably were solo a lot. So there's probably no credit for what they did or didn't do.
Right.
They probably helped save a lot of lives, but they get no credit because they're off the books kind of thing. And so, the only recognition you can get is, with your fellow Baker team members,
and now so it's just him. Yeah.
So it's just him. Yeah.
So he keeps going. He runs into the small town of Hope, Washington. And this is where the sheriff of the town, Will Teasel, kind of notices him, and he doesn't like his look because he's kind of unkempt. Now in the novel, he's got like a full beard, but here, he's just, hasn't shaved for a while. So he's got the stubble. He's got the uncombed, kind of wild, long hair. He's wearing that Army Rangers or whatever it is, the Green Beret jacket that he's got on, and so the sheriff doesn't like his look. And so he's like, hey, come on in. I'll give you a ride. Where are you headed? Like south or whatever, north. I don't remember what he says.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all right, I'll give you a ride. And the whole time, like you were saying, like they make his dialogue suggest more than he's actually really saying.
Yeah.
And when he finally lets him out, he's like, hey, let me give you some advice. People will trust you a lot more if like you're shaved, you take a shower every once in a while. I mean, it's like, dang, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. That might be part of the reason they moved it to the Pacific Northwest is because, the big hippie transient movement of the time kind of, his look kind of helped make him fit in that. So, he wasn't looked at as a Vietnam vet. Because otherwise I would think that Teasel would be, supportive of the troops. That kind of thing. So, it was kind of a mistaken, mistake him as, a hippie or something like that. Cause he said something about you get a lot of trouble around here for wearing, that jacket or something like that.
Yeah. He does say that,
and it's like, well, why, if he served in the military, but I'm thinking it's because he didn't really think he did at the time.
Oh, maybe,
that he was just wearing it. Ironically, I guess would be the word.
That's what they'd say nowadays.
Yeah.
So, I totally could see that. That's actually a really good reason, because that's one thing that I'd never figured out. It's like, well, why? I don't understand that line. But he takes him to the edge of town. He's like, there's a diner 30 miles up, because Rambo really just wants something to eat. He's hungry. He's like, well, they'll take care of you over there. And so he turns around, and Rambo, he starts walking, kind of turns around and just like, no, I'm hungry. I'm getting something to eat now. I have rights, like there's no reason I should be escorted out of town. And so Teasel sees him turn around, and he doesn't like that. So he goes back and arrests him for vagrancy. That's not a charge you hear a lot of nowadays.
No.
I guess it was a bigger problem in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
I guess so.
But he searches him, he finds that survival knife, which is specially made for this film. And
Right.
it's really cool. That's like the coolest knife.
Yes.
It's got the compass in it in the hilt.
Yep.
It's got like some triage equipment in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like needle, thread,
Yeah.
some various
Yeah.
things, matches. I think things
That
like that.
was my favorite Rambo toy I ever got. Was
Yep.
they had the plastic knife. It was
Yeah.
from after the second movie, because they had the plastic knife, and then it had that little jade necklace he
Yes,
wore.
I had that too.
Yes.
It was so
Oh
cool.
my gosh. I think it came with a watch, but my arms were too round for the watch. I could never wear it.
Oh, I got
It
you.
was like it didn't work. The watch didn't work. It's just a little plastic watch, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I wore that little jade thing and played with that knife
So did I.
forever.
Yeah, I remember when the string broke, and then we're like, okay, we'll get another one, and we never did.
Yeah.
Or it was just one of those things, and then we lost it, and it was like, okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. There were all sorts of IPs out there, but
a lot of people noticed that Rambo's knife gets bigger each movie.
oh yeah.
And that's actually on purpose. The guy that helped write the scripts for this, I had watched a commentary or a little mini documentary years ago and he was on there, and he said in Greek literature, your hero's will is the size of your hero's will is symbolized by the size of their sword.
Oh, okay.
So the bigger the sword, the bigger the will. So since Rambo steps up in each movie, especially the first three, steps up in the size of people he's taken on, then his will has to increase, to be able to defeat them. So that's why the knife gets bigger.
Nice.
So there's actually literary reasons for it.
That's cool. That's a cool reason. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I do remember that knife, and it was a cool looking knife.
Yeah.
I guess they
best
wanted
knife.
Oh, go ahead.
Best knife in movie history.
I think I agree. I know they wanted it to be to be able to do anything. So it had to be able to cut, wood, but it also had to be able to cut meat, for when you're hunting, stuff like that. So they designed it in such a way that it was going to be a great, just a great all around knife. And of course, with we talked about the hilt and all the cool special stuff you can have in there. So it's really neat. And yeah, it was smart of them to turn it into a toy.
Yes. Yes.
I think mine was in my stocking, but I could have. It's possible I got it for my birthday because they're kind of close. They're close enough that sometimes I confuse the two. But
my birthday's in July. I think I got mine for my birthday because I remember playing with it summertime when it was new. So
nice. Yeah. So he's arrested. He's taken to the station where, again, we see some of the Christmas decorations and the little tree. They have one of those tiny little, 2 foot or 3 foot trees that you can put on a desk. And this is where we're introduced to, I guess, the guy that's the real main villain, which would be Art Galt, who is a deputy. And he just doesn't like Rambo's look. Everything about him, he just gets on his nerves. And of course, Rambo's not really cooperating very much. So
which is understandable, in the situation he's in.
Yeah. I mean, all he wanted was something to eat, know, and this sheriff just doesn't like his look and is arresting him for vagrancy. But Galt really abuses Rambo. He hits him in the back when he's in the cell. And that's after he's they're telling him to get changed and cleaned up because they want him ready for his arraignment, essentially. And so they've seen him take his shirt off. They've seen all the different scars, everything from his torture from when he was a POW. And still Galt hits him with the nightstick, in the back, and they hose him down like crazy just to clean him up.
Yeah.
And of course we get some great dialogue and stuff like that. They make some puns but I like Galt. I think he was a great secondary antagonist. It's kind of like Teasel's not really evil. He just thought he was, I guess, enforcing his vision of what he wanted the town to be, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Vader and Palpatine to me.
Yeah.
So Galt was more the sadistic one. He's the more evil guy. So he's more the Emperor, whereas Teasel's more like, Vader, I suppose.
Yeah. Teasel's more likable.
Yeah.
Even
Brian Denny.
yeah. I mean, not that you really like him in this movie, but you could see where you could get along with him.
Yeah.
Even though he's, just kind of, he has his way, but everybody knows some people like that. It's like just, you can figure him out, and but yeah, it just escalated to a point that Teasel couldn't back down.
Yeah.
He couldn't be like, he escaped it. That's okay.
Yeah, it was more like a pride thing at that point.
Yeah.
And he just he had to win,
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I get. Sometimes I'm like that.
Because I had a feeling that they'd just do the shower thing, lock him up for a few hours, and probably would just let him go.
Yeah.
Just to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and then, but he resists getting fingerprinted. He resists, some of the other stuff, and so he's like, "Hey, you're earning yourself like a 90-day, jail time." Which to me, I mean, come on, man, why?
Yeah.
That seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
But Rambo eventually, because Teasel is gonna shave him like without any shaving cream. They're trying to clean him up to make him look nice before the judge. And he's just so upset with them at this point that they're like, forget it. Just do it dry.
Yeah.
Which hurts.
Yes.
So, and so this is where like Rambo fully freaks out and goes completely, I got to get out of here kind of, military on him. And I mean, he just like takes them apart, really. He one by one. I mean, he takes them down, and they all try, and they're no match for him in his skill. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But this was always one of my favorite scenes because I mean, it's shot so well. It's not like super quick cuts, but you can still see everything because of the lighting. In a lot of action flicks nowadays, the lighting is like the biggest part, and there's so many quick cuts, and you're just like, okay, what's going on? And it's not like wide shots, but there's enough wide shots that everything just looks good.
Right. And it's not a lot of high, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
it's not
high acrobatic type of fighting, where it's like, really? It was real street level, ground based.
Yeah, it's very much disable the target as fast as you can. Yeah. And that's it. And I liked it. I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, if you're going to be if you're into guerrilla warfare, you need to be able to just get the guy down quick, so that they don't call their backup or whatever. So it really made sense to me. It's not like a lot of martial arts films that I love. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Kung Fu flicks, but it was just very much a boom, boom, down, boom, down,
It's not like John Wick and a ink pen or whatever it was, or
exactly. So, where it's just like back and forth and back and forth. No, it's like, you're done. I got you. Yeah. And so he takes them all down and escapes. And I think this is where he takes the motorcycle, right? He goes outside and he steals a motorcycle, and the guys start to chase him, and they get in like their cars, and there's like a really cool chase scene, and even to the point where like Teasel's car just kind of gets flipped over. And I mean, again, everything was like really well done here.
Yeah. And it was, a believable scene. It's not like, they took cars places they couldn't go.
Yeah.
The car flipped over, made sense. Teasel probably wouldn't have walked away that easy, but
well, yeah.
Yeah. But you gotta do that a little bit. But yeah, he had the motorcycle, and it's not like he took it. People were driving down an alley where the car barely fit and was ripping off doors or anything. It made sense,
which we've seen in several movies. Yeah,
so it made a lot of sense. And a motorcycle got him up into the woods, and even the motorcycle gave out on the hill that was too steep.
Yeah,
and so.
Which again kind of goes back to that like real gritty, more realistic feel of this movie compared to the others. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Rambo 2. I love Rambo 3, but they are much more fantastical. I mean, this one guy can take out everything with the bow and arrow. I mean, it's just, compared to this one where it's like, okay, well, this doesn't work. What else? And so I really like that. I think in a lot of ways, several of the films, like you think of like Winter Soldier or The Dark Knight. I mean, a lot of these films are like trying to get back to that like gritty.
Have you seen Nobody yet?
Not yet. No, I really want to.
It's in the vein of this fighting style.
Nice. Can't wait.
I think the writers are the same as the John Wick ones, or there's somebody associated with the John Wick movies, part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the action style is real grounded and makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
There is things that happen because it's an action movie, but for the most part, I rented Nobody and watched it and then turned around and just bought the thing. It's
nice.
and it's a crisp 90 minutes.
There you go.
So,
there's something, I'm telling you, like there's something about just a nice, edited down. You don't have any extra. It flows. And that's what we get in this film as well. And you're right. You don't see that much anymore. And it's just because everybody's trying to build so much character and leave some space. And,
they're planning for the sequel in the first 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, no, come on.
Yeah, just get it done and make it good. And then if it's good, then you get a sequel.
Then figure it out.
Exactly. But they immediately go to hunt him down. I like that they get their friend with the dogs to go hunt him down. And he starts basically picking them apart one by one.
Tell him to bring the Dobermans. Instead of it's because he needs dogs that hunt by sight. It's going to be raining. So
Yeah. Which is another cool little tidbit that they were able to actually put that in, because that's not something you think about when you think about, dogs really hunting.
Well, they needed meaner looking dogs.
Yeah.
And they needed legit dogs that would, when they went over the ridge and you couldn't see them, that you think would actually get taken out. Ain't nobody going to take out no bloodhound with his floppy old ears and saggy old jaws. I know. He ain't going to be taking them down. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, but a Doberman, you wouldn't have problems.
Yeah, you don't have a problem with it. That thing's going to, it's either you or him.
That's right.
So with them bloodhounds. You just gonna take a nap. You guys just go curl up, take a nap together is all you're gonna do.
But he's like running and they're chasing him, and he's doing a pretty good job of evading and taking him down as much as he can. And but they get him. He's like eventually kind of cornered a bit, and they get him with the bloodhounds or not the bloodhounds, the Dobermans, and he has to like kill them because at this point he had a gun. Right, that he took from a hunter. Right, the hunters.
No, I think he got the gun from the guy that fell out of the helicopter. I thought.
Well, I know he does that too.
Yeah, did he get the kid's gun?
I think he did get the kid's gun, and remember, and the kid's like, "Dad," or something like that.
Yeah.
So at first he has that one, and he's shooting until his bullets are done. Of course, then they like bring out the choppers and all that, and of course it's Galt who's in the chopper shooting at him, and Rambo is at this point running so much that he gets to like a cliff, and he really has no choice but to kind of climb down the cliff because there's really no other way to escape. And so he starts climbing down, and that's Galt like sees him on the cliff face, and so starts shooting at him, and Rambo realizes that he has to jump off the cliff. And there's enough trees that he might be able to maybe kind of slow his fall. It's literally like, well, I could stay here and die, or I could try to jump and maybe die. So he does that, and Sylvester Stallone legit like broke his ribs while he was filming this scene, which I mean, that's a lot of pain for a scene, but it works because they kept it in.
He impromptu putting that tarp on too when he got to the woods.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, and so they had to really be delicate with that because it's the only one they had. So that's part of the reason it gets ditched too. It's
which I believe Sylvester Stallone still owns.
Yeah,
I think he still has that tarp. Yeah, because he finds it, and which again, I don't know if it's just because it was cold or just because it would blend in more. And
I think it was a little bit of both. At first, I took it when I watched it. When I was watching as a kid, I just thought, well, it's because it's cold.
Yeah.
And then when I watched it older, and then even this last time I watched it, I thought, well, it's because it's cold, and then it's kind of that gun, kind of has that gunny suit effect where it helps you to blend in a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets rid of your straight lines of your body.
And it worked because he was able to like we mentioned, just pick them off one by one.
Yeah.
So he like jumps out of trees and kind of just appears out of nowhere. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. He even tells them, he's like, I could have killed all you guys.
Yeah. Which
I
in the book he pretty much does. But again, they didn't want to make him a villain. He's like the star.
Right.
He's the one you're supposed to be following. So, and it so much so that David Morrell, the author of the novel, actually said that he prefers the film over his novel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's one of those that if he had thought about it, he probably would have done that.
Right.
Made him a little more sympathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Left himself open for another book. At least.
That's right. That's right. He wrote himself into a corner.
Yeah.
But he jumps down off the cliff. The trees kind of break his fall. He injures his arm, which he later sews up. But he's kind of just hiding while they go down towards that gorge, I think is what they call it. And so Galt is there trying to shoot him. And so he finds like a crazy rock, like just a big rock, and he throws it, and it hits the window of the helicopter. And so the pilot kind of jerks out of just, and so because of that, Galt like falls out of the chopper and dies.
Right.
And that's our one death for the movie.
Yeah. Galt, I've only been in a helicopter like once or twice in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know how mad I would have to be to hang out of one above rocks to shoot a rifle basically with one arm at somebody.
Yeah.
In a cavern. It's like I'd be like, oh, there he is. Just let everybody know.
Yeah, he's down here. Yeah. All right, come down. Let's surround him. Yeah, because he the dude literally just unfastens his safety harness so he can get like a better shot. So he was just.
Doesn't he break Galt's nose?
He does. Yeah.
So I guess that would be what really set him off. But still, it's like this dude just broke my nose. Yeah, it's still that's still high risk.
That's very move. I think at that point he's just seeing red because Teasel even tells him don't stop shooting. We want him alive, and he doesn't care. He still tries anyway.
Yeah. Even the helicopter pilot was like, he's stuck there. He's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
He's stuck on the side of the cliff.
Yeah, and Galt was like, if you don't do what I tell you, I'll kill you instead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, man, calm down.
Yeah.
I get it. He hurt your nose, but come on. I mean, there's no need for that.
I hope Galt wasn't married.
Well, I think we find out that he was.
He was.
He was. Yeah. Teasel, of course, sees him, and Galt. So there is a backstory where I guess they were old friends. They knew each other, and so because of that, now it's like, well, now you killed my friend, so I'm definitely coming after you. So Teasel's super mad, but he also knows that after all his guys are pretty much, taken apart, that he needs help, and so he eventually agrees to call the state police.
Right.
For reinforcements. And that's where we get, was it Kern? I think Lieutenant Kern, something like that. And he comes in and he kind of helps him, which I like how he actually says, well, why did you, why are you going after this guy? Like what happened,
Yeah.
And he's questioning him, dude, just back off. It's whatever. And he's like, well, I was just trying to, I was just treating him like one of my neighbor's kids.
Just let him go to Portland and pick him up there, or whatever he said. It's you'll get him 2 weeks from now. Just be patient.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, he brings in the state police, but this is where they find out that he was Medal of Honor winner. He was Green Beret, and they're like, oh, okay, well, no wonder that this all making sense now. I get it.
Yeah. David Carradine's character was highly impressed by the Green Beret.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Now the Green Berets Green Berets are fantastic, and they do things that I absolutely cannot do. But the Green Berets, that was the big early 80s thing. If you use green, that was top shelf stuff was Green Berets. And then Then Navy SEALs came
Navy
along.
SEAls was like,
Yeah. And then
in
Navy
like the
SEALs
late
came
80s,
along.
early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all like about Navy. He's a
Yeah.
Navy SEAL. What?
Right.
Casey
Yeah.
Ryback or
Yeah. But it used to be Green Berets were the top shelf thing to be, you know. So
yeah.
but,
That's funny how they
I
kind
mean,
of
in real life they are top shelf
they
people.
really are. Yeah, they're still really amazing. And again, thank you to all you Green Berets and Navy
Yes.
SEAls out there. But I mean,
I'll tell you this, Jerry.
huh?
You know Ken Smith from Faces Places podcast.
Yeah.
His son is in basic training right now, getting ready to become a Green Beret.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
I'm glad he can do. So I know one of the things they have to do as far as their training is there's like a very narrow tunnel that they have to like crawl in the dark. Like I think it's like 30 yards or something like that. They really have to train that to prove that, you know, they're not claustrophobic essentially, because they never know what they're going to do. And apparently Sylvester Stallone really is claustrophobic. And so that scene in the cave, you know, in that mine when he's like, it's getting smaller and smaller, I guess was kind of difficult for him.
Yeah.
So he would have been allowed into the Green Beret program. Yeah. Sorry, Sly.
Yeah.
but you did a good job portraying one.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, he really did. But so they're all out there, and this is where Rambo starts making his traps, because there's kind of a period where they don't go after him because they're waiting for the state police to come in and you know, they're regrouping. And so he makes his traps, and he has that one with the spikes. Like you can see him getting some sticks and with his knife, just making little spikes out of it. And I mean, that was a cool trap. I remember as a kid just being like, whoa, you know?
Yeah. He put them together pretty quickly too. I guess he had a few hours to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so he probably had enough time to get it
because he was also able to kill the boar and eat the boar as well.
Yep. Yeah, he was able to do that, which was good because that lets you know that he did get something to eat finally.
Yeah,
you know, so.
That's right. So he should have been fine after this. Like,
I mean,
like his Snickers, you know.
He should have just hollered out, "I finally got something to eat," you know. And,
it would have all been done.
Yeah,
sorry about your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would have been a much shorter movie.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been. And he did use his knife for hunting, like he said.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, it's for hunting. So yeah, truthful guy.
So,
but yeah, so he gets them. But I do like how, and you mentioned it already, where earlier he like holds, you know, he finally ambushes after he's taken everybody down. He finally ambushes Teasel, and he's got the knife like right at his neck, and he's like, you know, like back off, like back off. You know, you're the law in the city. You're the law. Out here, it's me. Yeah, that's like, oh, that's a good line. That's a good line right there.
It is. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, that scene, you know, if you can't watch the whole movie, which I encourage you to do, it's not very long. And but if you can just catch that scene on YouTube, it has a real horror movie effect to it, and it just was really, really great.
Yeah, because he's essentially picking them off one by one, which you see in a lot of horror films.
You know, and at this, you know, at that point, you're starting to question, well, do I really want to root for Rambo?
Yeah,
you know, do I really want to? You know, maybe he isn't the guy I need to be rooting for. You know, it really puts that in question a little bit, and you know, which it kind of comes around full circle at the end to where you absolutely are, but we don't jump ahead. Yeah, it's a really great scene. I actually forgot how great that scene is where he traps the woods.
Yeah,
it's one of the better ones in this movie, which is saying something.
Well, and I like how Sylvester Stallone really able, because I like him. I liked everything he's done. You know, everything that I've seen him in. But in this one, he was really able, I thought, to capture like the. I think Roger Ebert called it like the hollow eyes.
Yeah.
You know, where, you know, and it really was like there's just. You look at him, and in a lot of shots, it's like there's almost nothing there. You know, it's just and you can tell that he's a man who's seen so much, that's been through so much, and it's just worn that he doesn't even know really what life is or you know who he is, kind of a thing. And which again we get at the end in that big monologue, which I can't wait to talk about. It's so good.
No, I know.
But the National Guard comes in. This is where we're introduced to Colonel Troutman, who used to command him, and he basically scares Teasel and like, you know, hey, this guy was the best. He was part of an elite team. They took down so many of the opposition. You guys are dead meat, basically, is what he says. And he's like, okay, fine. Try talking to him, see if we can get him out. See if we can get him, because they know he's at this point he's got a radio. So Troutman tries, he can't really succeed.
Right.
I like how this is where we get the iconic line, "Hey, they drew first blood, not me."
Yeah.
And from there, they realize that he's in the mine, and so this is where some of the National Guard guys, a rocket launcher, right? They use a rocket launcher and kind of collapse the mine.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a Keystone Cops version of the National Guard or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they're just kind of goofy.
Yeah, because the guy's like, all right, go get him. He's like, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
He's like, I only do this a couple of days a month or something.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. And that was actually, I think, quite necessary for the film. I think they needed that little bit of humor
they needed
to kind of lighten the tone.
Yeah, it's kind of the midway point.
Yeah.
Because after that, they think they got him. He's trapped in there. They'll have to dig his body out. Case closed.
Yeah.
And then he crawls through that tunnel like you talked about, and and escapes. And
this is where we see him again with the with that tarp or whatever it is, the canvas, I guess, that he found, where he's like cutting it up. He's using it as part of the torch. And everything. So he's crawling through the mine. He realizes there has to be another way out, or he's at least looking. We get that scene with the rats, which I think he had to get some shots for afterwards, because they kind of scratched him up pretty bad. So I think he had to get some sort of vaccinations. But he finds an escape, and he sees like the army guy or the National Guard kind of packing up, and he sees all the ammunition in this one truck, and so he hijacks the truck.
Yes.
It's in typical 80s fashion,
Yep. Yeah. He just that's the easiest way to hijack a truck.
Yeah. That's right. Yep. Just kind of climb on the side and open the door.
Open the door and throw somebody out.
That's right. So for all you listeners out there, now you know how to hijack a truck.
It's like throw somebody out with one arm. It's like, what do you do? Reach over and unlatch their seatbelt, then throw them out, or what?
I guess so. Well, he had that big old knife. I mean, it was kind of scary.
Yeah,
I'd be like, sure, just tell me what to do. I'm gone.
Yeah.
But it's like it's got an M60, I think, machine gun in it,
M60,
and a bunch of ammunition. Which I think that I read that gun is like 30 pounds or something. It's like a heavy
they're monsters.
gun.
That don't include the ammo belt and all that stuff.
Oof.
So.
Can't even imagine.
But Stone's ripped for it, so.
Well, that's true. Although I didn't think he was quite as big as he was in some of his other roles in this.
Yeah.
Like he was still super cut, but he looked a little bit leaner to me. And I don't know if it's because he was supposed to be like, a guy that can't really hold down a job, just kind of eats wherever he can, or not. But I mean, still, you're right. He's definitely in shape for it. I'm sure that's nothing for him.
Yeah. That gun shoots 650 rounds per minute.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No wonder he can totally obliterate a town.
That's kind of gun you don't aim, you just kind of point in the general direction. And
I need a gun like that just because my aim is terrible. So he and there's a good bit of character development here where Teasel had kind of told Troutman off, I guess.
Right.
So he finally comes to apologize, and Troutman's there at a local bar, and he's drinking, and so he comes to make amends, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I do like how he asks him what would you have done? Would you have put a bullet in him, or I think he says, or kissed him on the mouth, something like that. But essentially, would you have just befriended him, or would you have taken him out? Mm-hmm. And I like Troutman's answer because it's like a good, honest answer. He's like, honestly, I don't know unless I actually was there. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Which is like, wow, that's That's good. I mean, wow, you know.
It is honest because it's like you don't want to commit one way or the other because you know, you just don't know what it was, you know.
Yeah. As the circumstances needed, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where Rambo comes back and just starts basically blowing up stuff.
Yeah.
I think he blows up a gas station, and
Yeah.
I know he starts taking out all like the transformer boxes and everything.
Getting the lights out.
But we get some great shots of Christmas lights on some of these buildings here, and I loved that. It was so good. And of course me, the Christmas lights guy. So
Well, you know, and then at this time Teasel gets a gun, goes to the roof of the police station
to see if he can get him,
to see if he can, sniper him off, I guess.
Yeah.
But quickly gives up his location. So
yeah, he does. It's like, dude, you're not trained for that.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I think Troutman even like tries to get Teasel to like go away, right? To flee. But he's like, no, I got this. This is my
tell him
guy.
to go away. Troutman was going to go, talk sense to him and stuff. So.
But after like a quick little, gunfight, then Rambo kind of sneaks in and shoots him from below. Like he knows he's up above, and so he just kind of shoots him from below. That classic, that classic image of the guy's above me, just kind of a thing. And so he falls through, and he's dying. He's basically gonna kill him, and that's when Troutman intervenes.
Right.
And this is where we get that classic monologue where he's telling him, he came back from Vietnam. And like people were protesting and spitting at him and calling him like baby killers. And I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Here's what he says. He says, nothing's over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off. It wasn't my war. You asked me. I didn't ask you. And I did what I had to do to win. And somebody wouldn't let us win. I come back to this world and I see all those maggots at the airport protesting me, spitting me, calling me baby killer and all kinds of vile crap. Yeah. Who are they to protest me? Who are they? Unless they've been me and know where I've been, then what the hell were they yelling about? And then he goes on and on about, not being able to get a job parking, washing cars, he's like, over there, I was in charge of $1 million tanks, equipment, tanks and stuff. And now he can't, even wash cars, park cars or anything. So.
And then he gets into that, he talks about his friend.
Yeah. That line, he's like, he died in Vietnam and didn't even know it. It just like, I remember the first time I heard that, I was probably in my 20s when I was watching this movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, hit me sideways.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my goodness, because there was, so much problem with the Agent Orange and cancer.
Yeah.
With veterans. In fact, I don't keep bringing back sad stories, but, I never met my father-in-law because he died, it was 2011, but he died from cancer, from Agent Orange, from being over in Vietnam.
Oh, wow. I met a door gunner when I was selling insurance. I met a door gunner that I sold a policy to, and he had, was it COP? No, he had congestive heart failure because of that kind of stuff. It just messed him up.
Yeah.
And he was there in Vietnam. He was actually a pilot. And in the end, they made him a door gunner. And then after like a year or so, he was, I guess, doing like air traffic control over there. But I mean, that stuff's no joke.
Oh.
But Rambo then goes on to talk about his other friend who they were at a bar and a kid wanted to shine his shoes. And so he like got up to go get another drink. And it turns out that the shoe shine box was wired and it just blew him up basically. And oh man, I mean, this monologue, it's Sylvester Stallone acted the heck out of it.
Yeah, he even said that I had my friend all over me.
All over me, yeah.
It's like, dang.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then he's screaming and there's pieces of him all over me.
Yeah, and his friend was saying, I just want to go home, Johnny. I just want to drive my Chevy. I said, with what? I can't find your legs. you know. So
Yeah. Oh gosh. That's
ugh.
I know. But it does remind when I heard it, not when I heard this, when I heard that from Major Payne. I don't know if you ever saw Major Payne with
It's
David
been
Wayne.
years, yeah.
He's telling the story of the little engine that could, and he ends up kind of going into a monologue that's totally a ripoff of this, where he's talking about his friend like Bubba or something. He's like, Pain, I can't feel my legs. I said, Bubba, they ain't there. It's totally a ripoff of this monologue, or a parody,
yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
But it's like you see this or you hear him go through all this, and Troutman is just like, Krenna does such a great job of, like, in his eyes, you can see like the sadness and the pity and the empathy he has for his friend. And it's just like, oh man, this guy.
Yeah. Well, even earlier than that, when Troutman was talking to Rambo over the radio, Rambo's like, "Where'd you come from?" And Troutman's like, "Bragg." And he's like, "I tried to get a hold of you at Bragg, and they never knew where to find you."
Yeah.
It's like, he Rambo took steps to try to reach out to somebody for help.
Yeah.
And there was just nobody there.
Yeah.
Did he mention that in the monologue? There was nobody to help.
I don't recall. I don't have the whole thing. I only have pieces of it here.
Yeah.
It could be.
But yeah, at least that little bit, let you show that, he was reaching out. And that's probably why he was going, he was traveling up there to see his friend, that, maybe he thought talking with his friend would help, so.
Yeah. Which again, it's sad. And it shows the, the condition that some of the vets are in when they come home. And so anything we can do, of course, to help them out is always much needed.
Oh yeah. And I was going to say, after reading this stuff here, God bless all you guys that serve Vietnam, Korea, and, Gulf Wars, and currently, oh my goodness, guys, you are a godsend for sure.
Yeah. I agree.
We definitely need to make sure that, as a country, I don't want to get political, but as a country, we need to definitely make sure that we step up and make sure these guys are taken care of as best as they can be.
Yep. Agree 100%.
Yeah.
So the movie ends with Troutman escorting Rambo basically to be arrested.
Yeah.
And which I know Roger Ebert thought was kind of an unsatisfactory ending. He didn't quite like it.
Right.
I think it actually works. I know it might have made more of an impact if he had, killed him.
It's been more shocking.
It definitely would have been more shocking. I know there's an alternate ending where he tries to get Troutman to kill him and he won't, and so then he kind of essentially like pulls his trigger for him and shoots himself. So I think that would have been a little more, like we said, shocking, more powerful. But at the same time, I kind of like the almost blasé, just blah kind of nature of him just being escorted and the almost anticlimactic bit to it.
I like it because paired up with this monologue, it's like you have this powerful monologue about how he's struggling, dealing with everything he's seen in the war and had to do.
Yeah.
And he's struggling with, everyday life. So the answer is to put him out of his misery. No, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
I think that would send a completely wrong message. It's like, oh, you're having trouble, can't get a job, parking cars, washing cars. Well, we'll just put an end to it here, but at least this is like, okay, yeah, he's getting arrested, he's going to jail, but maybe there's at least hope for rehabilitation.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the killing at the end, especially backed up, butted up against this monologue, would have been the complete wrong message to send.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and especially because they took such great pains to make him not like a killer.
Right.
Whereas in the novel he is, and so it makes sense to kind of just, you can't turn it off. You got to put him down.
Yeah. If he was a killer and couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here, he actively tried not to kill anybody. He even says, like we mentioned, he even says, I could have taken you all out.
Right.
But I didn't. Right. And so I think there's kind of something poetic about him just still living about, and you're right. There's that hope that maybe he can get the help that he needs.
Yeah. Because he is in the city of hope.
There you go. Yeah.
So.
Touche.
And it's Christmas time.
And it's
there's
Christmas.
hope.
It's always hope. Yeah.
Christmas hope. I talk about Christmas hope at the end of every episode.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. It's really on the nose in this movie.
Yeah.
So that's
absolute Christmas classic. What this is.
I love this film. It's good. But yeah, so there was that. After part 2 came out, there was the cartoon. A lot of the characters were actually based off, even though they're changed their names, they're based off of some of the villains in part 2 for that cartoon. There's one where Rambo literally has to save a scientist that kind of looks like Santa Claus from Savage, who's kind of like the evil organization. Which I love the 80s because all the criminal organizations have like such acronymed names. Savage. There's Venom.
You don't get good acronyms anymore.
you gotta have a good acronym in your name. But so he does. Essentially, there's a little orphan boy, and I'll just briefly talk about it because I don't know if it's worth or if it's enough for like a whole another episode. So I'll just quickly run through it. But there's a little orphan boy that kind of Stallone has to rescue, and while he does that, he runs into Savage trying to kidnap this the former arms dealer, former weapons maker, that is now just wants to make toys. Of course, there's several chases.
Is this Brian's from Yuletide TV Santa Claus origin story?
I think you're right. And for those of you that don't know, you got to check out that Mary Melee finale. That was from the finale, right?
Yep. Yeah. Mary Melee 4 is when
Mary Melee 4. Check that out on Christmas Clatter because then you'll know exactly what we're talking about. But he manages to save the Santa and save the boy, and all the while doing all sorts of things that I didn't think could be done, like throwing a knife and cutting a rope.
Right.
He does that. He manages to he takes a hubcap and uses that as like a snowboard.
I've done that 1,000 times, Jerry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's old hat. Yeah. He holds on to a prop plane and flies, during a blizzard. So, I mean, and then rescues a little boy at the same time. I mean, Rambo is just like amazing in these things.
Yeah. It's funny because he's just a guy. It's not like he's got superpowers and doing this stuff.
Right. Yeah. If it was Captain America, I get it. But
yes. Yeah.
But it's literally just, he's just a highly trained guy, and who's apparently super highly trained.
Really highly. It's like, well, who trained you,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Colonel Trutman.
Yeah, Trutman.
Oh, man. But yeah, so he manages to save Santa in that one. And there was only one season of that cartoon. It was from 1986. In fact, that particular episode you can find online. Also, it aired November 14th, 1986. So it was a little bit early for a Christmas episode, especially considering there was still a few episodes afterwards. It's like, well, why didn't you just put it in December? But oh well.
I'm going to tell you this. This is way off topic, Jerry, but kind of thinking about Rambo stuff. I think there's a place for Rambo to come alive again. I mean, to me, Rambo's Rambo 1, 2, 3. The other ones, they're fine, but they just don't seem to fit as well in the story. But I think there's a way we can have more Rambo, and that's in the Cobra Kai flashbacks with John Kreese in Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
They should at least have an episode where they cross paths for a little bit.
That'd be cool. I could see that. It's like it's his old one of his old buddies.
Yeah.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Get it done. Sign the papers.
That's right. Yeah. In the cartoon, we get a couple of familiar voices, especially Alan Oppenheimer, who plays Chief. Most people know him as the voice of Skeletor. We also have what's his name? Peter Cullen, who most people know as Optimus Prime, and you can totally hear his totally hear his voice. Frank Welker, also, who's like almost every cartoon character ever.
Yeah. Those three guys are in everything you've ever watched.
That's right. That's right. And so those are just some of the big names we get in this cartoon. I love the acronym Savage. It's just it's
Yeah.
funny.
It's
But it was
good.
done by Ruby Spears, so that's why it kind of has that Hanna-Barbera feel to a little bit.
Mhm.
Ruby Spears famously worked for Hanna-Barbera, then split off and formed their own company.
Yeah.
Savage, by the way, stands for Specialist Administrators of Vengeance, Anarchy, and Global Extortion.
There you go. Covered all the bad words.
That's right.
Too bad it
That's
wasn't
right.
vagrancy.
It should have been vagrancy.
Yeah.
Oh man, but the main villain is General Warhawk in this one, who is based off of Lieutenant Colonel Pudovsky from First Blood Part 2, and then Sergeant Havoc. He's the one with the that metal hand or whatever, and he was he was based off of Sergeant Yushin from First Blood Part 2 as well. Yeah. And that's just a little bit of that. At the end of the episode, Rambo dresses up like Santa along with the former weapons maker, and they pass out toys to the orphans. So, just standard Christmas fare.
Yeah.
But, it does make me wonder, what would you say, if you can, would be your happiest moment about this movie here? Or moment or memory, whichever.
The Rambo series as a whole is like the first movie series that I can remember like my whole family being in, like enjoying. I liked Star Wars and my dad liked Star Wars, but my mom and my sister just kind of went along.
Right.
So I really remember Rambo as being like the first franchise of movies, especially, the first three that was like, all right, we're going to watch it. My mom still watches First Blood fairly regular basis.
Oh wow.
And or they'll go through a kick where they'll watch 1, 2, 3, within a week or something. And I just remember it as being like, going to see the second one, and then when the third one come out, it was like, a big deal to hit the theater at the mall and go see it as a family. So it was just one of the movies I just remember that we all liked, we all wanted to be a part of, and it was such a big deal at our house to watch Rambo when we could. So
nice. I dig it. Yeah, for me, this one was hard. I think my happiest memory of Rambo as a whole would be that knife with the little green pendant.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
I
super
played that
cool.
a lot.
Yeah.
I played with that thing a lot. I used to do that. The house I grew up at, mom and dad had almost 5 acres to play. And I remember I had all kinds of like toy guns, plastic toy guns and stuff like that. And I remember I used to do the old classic 80s, load up your weapons and put them on your body montage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then go outside. And it was my whole yard was always filled with evil ninjas, but made sure I took care of them all,
I understand, because I had similar experiences. There are
no more evil ninjas at my mom and dad's house anymore. So,
And Todd was the best.
Yes, I was. I had all kinds of. You know what? My guns never ran out of ammunition.
No, mine didn't either. They automatically loaded themselves.
Unless I wanted to grab another one. Then it ran out of ammunition.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I started to grab another one.
Or unless you grabbed one off of a dead enemy.
Yeah.
So, before I get into the next thing, I did want to mention something I forgot. The music was done by Jerry Goldsmith, who is one of my all-time favorite film composers. But the theme is just so iconic. It's classic. I love they actually wrote words to it, and it became a single for Dan Hill, which I thought was kind of cool too. There was a time, especially in the 70s and 80s, when the songs to movies usually would just use a theme written by the composer of the actual movie. And once we kind of get to like Batman in '89, we start to see that if they're going to have a song as part of it, it's usually something else, not at all involved. But for a while there, especially with these action films, you think of like Lethal Weapon, you think of what am I thinking of? This one for sure. There was also that Tootsie, and it's like all these like main singles were written based off themes by the actual composer of the film score. So I thought that was kind of a cool bit here. So that's just one, and they actually use that in the cartoon as well. They reused
Yeah.
that music. Jerry Goldsmith passed away in like 2004, I believe, because I was teaching film scoring at the time. And I remember when they came out with Rambo, which was, I guess, part 4, essentially. Brian Tyler, who was hired to do it, actually, people were worried. They were like, well, they're going to come up with whole new themes or whatever. But he like assured fans like, no, this theme is so iconic. I'm going to keep it and base all my music around that theme. And he did. And it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I call Gag Me with the Spoon, where we do our best impression of our least favorite part. And this was hard because I really like it all. So I had to pick like something I'll explain it when I get there. But as a guest, I'll let you go first.
Well, I hope I don't pick your part, Jerry.
I hope you don't either. But
I picked this part because, like I said, this whole movie I love. So it was really hard. So I picked a part that I didn't feel like it really fit.
Okay.
But it's so quick, I don't think most people notice. And I'll take you back to the scene. Rambo just jumps in the passenger seat of the truck he's hijacking.
Okay.
And the driver, of course, looks at him because he just got in the truck with him. And Rambo says, "Drive. Don't look at me. Look at the road." That's how accidents happen.
That's a good one. I actually picked when they're hosing him down, and the reason I picked it's a couple lines from Galt, and the reason I picked it is because at this point I just can't stand Galt anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's literally the only I tried to find something I couldn't. There was nothing really that stood out to me. So in this case, it was mostly just because he's just like that guy you just want to like punch his face or something,
right.
Like, come on, why are you being such a jerk? So they're hosing him down, and he says, "Hey, Preston, make sure you get him behind the ears."
Yeah.
Something like that. It's ridiculous.
That was a bad one too. That one I don't think you see him saying it. It's almost like it was a voiceover or
and it could have been,
because they wanted they needed something else in there more antagonizing to what's going on. So
well, it probably was ADR because of the force of that of the hose. Those things are actually pretty loud. And you don't realize it.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
One of those guys wasn't holding that hose all by itself. What was going to happen.
So that was good though.
Yeah, that was good.
I like yours.
But I don't do a very good Sly Stallone impression.
He's hard to do, and I know part of that is because he had a difficult birth when he was born, and so he has like partial face paralysis, and that's kind of how we get some of his speech patterns. But I mean, he's kind of hard to do. And he's not really like Sly Stallone it too much there either. It's not like Rocky or some of his others where it's like, I don't know, but I mean, he kind of says his lines, and they actually kind of come out, I don't know, fine. That's a terrible way to say it. You know what I mean?
He's not laying it on thick. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But G.I. Joe did teach us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
Making sure that when you want to stop to eat, that the town wants you to stop and eat.
That's good. Yes, always double check that. See, I thought if no one's half the battle, the other half is not going on a manhunt for a dangerous Green Beret.
Well, that is true, and I do have one special piece here for you, Jerry.
Ooh.
I reached out to Sly Stallone myself.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but I know Sly, fairly well, and I was able to get an interview with him about Christmas.
Nice.
I didn't want to hear about his movies. Me and him talk about it all the time. So I was like, Sly, what do you think about Santa Claus? And that's what he had to say. Yo, Santa.
Yep. Well, we know that Rambo and Santa are pretty tight.
Yeah. So
I saw it in that cartoon. That was good. Oh man. Todd. It's so much fun to talk to you, and I really enjoyed talking about this movie.
Yeah.
This was
I could go on and on about this movie.
Yeah, I know. Same here. I was like, okay, I gotta keep moving because I'll like focus on this one little thing forever.
Yes, I know.
But I mean, tell me about your show. What do you want to plug?
Christmas Clatter. It's a podcast that we celebrate everything that makes Christmas special. We'll talk about movies and music and food and family, gifts, decorations, and even those quiet moments of reflection that happen around the holidays. Anywhere you find podcasts, we're there at Christmas Clatter, or we are on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Christmas Clatter, and have a video version of the podcast up every other Tuesday. And then other YouTube videos in between there. I'll unbox ornaments, do reactions to Christmas songs I haven't heard, and all kinds of great Christmas silliness. So hop along and find me, Christmas Clatter Podcast on the socials, and Clatterpod on Twitter.
Yeah, and definitely check out those YouTube videos because they're fun.
Yes. Yeah,
they're definitely.
I really enjoy the YouTube, and if you go to the YouTube, make sure you click the like and subscribe button, and that really helps. And yeah, having a good time over there, trying to figure out the old YouTubes. It's been a lot of fun. The unboxings right now are my favorite thing, but I look to be doing some more album stuff in the very near future. And
any TikTok soon?
I posted a few things on TikTok, but I'm still trying to.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff you have to do stuff live, and I'm not real good at live. I like to do it, then make sure it's right.
I gotcha. I'm not gonna do TikTok.
Yeah.
I was just curious to see.
I am on TikTok. I have maybe 2 things on there. But usually what it is my Instagram stories or my YouTube shorts. I just throw on there as well. It's like I already have it made. So
yeah,
I'll just put it on there. But Facebook's where I'm most active at. Facebook and Instagram. I am on Twitter, but if you really want to interact, it's Facebook and Instagram or YouTube. In the comments section is a good place to find me. Starting to build a nice little community there over on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be doing some Christmas party live stream soon, closer to the holidays. So be looking forward to that. Yes.
All right. Well, definitely check out Christmas Clatter. It's one of the best Christmas pods out there, and I hope to have you back on.
Yes, anytime, Jerry. I will be here because I need more and more ratties.
All right. I'm down. And on that note, I'll end it by saying it's just that Christmas is contagious. So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're feeling like orphans getting presents from Rambo and Santa, leave us a review on iTunes. Not only does it help us reach more people, but you also get a free sticker. And don't forget to vote. Later, dudes.
Hello, this is Todd Killian from the Christmas Clatter podcast. What makes Christmas special to you? Is it the movies or the music, the food or family, the gifts or decorations? Maybe those quiet moments of reflection. Whatever it is, join me for Christmas Clatter, a monthly podcast dedicated to everything that makes Christmas special. Visit ChristmasClatter.com for all social media links and find Christmas Clatter podcast on all podcast apps. Thank you, and remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.